Hi everyone, welcome back to Comic Book Corner. I'm Dan De La Torre. Thanks for joining this evening. A couple of shout outs, if I may. I've had some wonderful people in the chat here, wonderful conversation, but one really caught my attention. His name is, and I just have it right here, Arthur Tripp. Arthur, he's 81 years old, and he's been collecting for a long, long time, longer than I have. I could only imagine the knowledge in this man's head. He is still enjoying collecting to this day, and it was heartwarming that just the little chat that we had, that he's in our chat here, and he's still collecting. He still enjoys it. Now I'm 62, so he's got me obviously by about 20 years, and I have no plans on stopping. But Arthur, it was very heartwarming. Thank you so much, and God bless this man. 81 years old, still collecting strong. You can only cheer for people like this, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. Maybe we can make that happen. We'll see. But let's. I don't want to. We'll see if we can reach out without giving away your contact information. But that would be a fascinating conversation. Another shout out I'd like to give to is Mickey Swagelhouse. I was on his show, but he had a claim sale this past weekend. Mickey has some of the best claim sales in the business. When he's on doing a claim sale, you should be front and center. Trust me, definitely be front and center. Somebody scored a Ghost Rider #1, a really nice, great copy, for about $100 under fair market value. And given how hot the Ghost Rider comic is, that's a steal. Now, if I had the money, I would have grabbed it. But just, you got to be there, right place, right time. You have to have the money and all that. Mickey, but he gave some very, very kind words to this channel and for my efforts here. So Mickey, thank you so much. That meant an awful lot to me. You made my day. You really did. I got the package, by the way, just came in. I bought something from him. I will reveal it maybe in the next episode. One of the books I've been wanting to get for a long time, and I found a really great deal on it. So Mickey, thank you so much in your kind words. One of the things that I do here is this is the SBC network, meaning Silver, Bronze, and Copper Age. And one of the things I was thinking about was that for some of you that have been sending text and messages through the chat saying, hey, I'm just getting started, I'm new to collecting, that sort of thing, and I've been telling you how expensive everything is. One very inexpensive way to begin in an era that I really loved was the Copper Age. Again, I loved all three of those eras, and I stopped in the mid-90s when the comics the stories and the artwork, everything else just lost me. But Copper Age is very, very inexpensive. So I'm going to be profiling some of these randomly with all of these piles that I produce here, give you some background on it and so forth. So let's start right here. Here's a Bronze Age comic here. And when you look at it, it looks like it's another Thing versus Hulk battle, right? This is Marvel 2-in-1 #5, the Marvel 2-in-1 Annual #5. Now, this is written by a gentleman who I'm not terribly familiar with, Alan Cooperberg. Now, you might have heard his name, but I knew most of the, again, writers of that era, and I'm not familiar with his work, but this was a very, very good story. He wasn't afraid to bring not just these two powerhouses together, Hulk and Thing, and they work together, but the Stranger. Stranger is one of the elders of Marvel. He's an extremely powerful individual, not quite Galactus level, but he's kind of up there. And the Stranger employs these two to deal with, kind of a spoiler alert, Pluto, another powerhouse from the, not Asgard, Olympian. He's an Olympian god. So again, it was a fascinating story, kind of a deep story, but certainly worth your time. It's a colorful book, $10-ish for a decent copy. These are square-bound books here, so you got to be careful with these. But I thought that was a very, very good read by someone who I'm not terribly familiar with. Next up here, we had... speaking of the elders of Marvel, when Secret Wars came out, it was so popular. That was Jim Shooter's brainchild. This came out shortly afterwards, and this was not as good, but this was a 3-issue miniseries called The Contest of Champions. It was a fun story. The elder in this particular case was the Grandmaster. He's kind of a gamester and all that, but he is a very powerful character, without question. And so if you buy this, excuse me, you should get all 3 issues. And you can get this really cheap. $15 for all 3 issues on, if you want to get some high-grade copies, that's totally fine. But it was a fun story, worth having in your collection. And again, look at how many characters are on the cover here. Just a fun story, fun story. Next we have here, one of these days, I'd like to do a video on my Golden Age collection. I have a fair amount, enough, certainly enough to produce a video, but they're expensive. They're pricey. And this is a early Bronze Age cover, Bronze Age story. The problem I have with this particular cover, it's a deceptive cover. In this story, technically there are two Human Torches. They're not battling each other. I never cared for that. But what's so interesting about this is a Stan Lee and Jack Kirby story. And I've always said before, any Stan Lee, Jack Kirby story is worth getting, no matter what. Incredibly inexpensive. And as a bonus, the second half of the issue is a Golden Age reprint from the original Human Torch. So it's just worth it. And again, really inexpensive key. It's just fun reading. I just love the Stan Lee stories. I savor them. Speaking of Golden Age, these are two Golden Age characters here. Now, I had always loved the Submariner series and stored them for decades, and they never went anywhere price-wise, until recently. They finally moved up a bit, but this one caught my attention here, and that's Submariner number 14. Golden Age Submariner squares off against Golden Age Human Torch. I won't say any more. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Good story. Were these Sal Buscema artwork? I forget. Anyway, this is not terribly expensive, about $20 or so, to get your hands on one of these copies here. A little bit more if you want, obviously a higher grade. But this was a good story, worth your time and money. Next. Okay. Marvel is not known for its humor. They're not known for its humor at all. They had in the Silver Age a run of, what was the character's name? The Forbush Man. And they tried to do some comedic skits against, both Marvel and DC, and they tried to have some fun with it. Some were okay, but I really didn't go out of my way to seek them because, again, the comedy wasn't there. It's not easy to be funny. I don't do stand-up for a reason. I'm not good at comedy. I may have a good one-liner or two, but to do stand-up, that's not me. So, and it's not Marvel either, with one exception, with one very good exception. And if I'm bringing this forward, this is worth your time because this holds up to this day, and it's What If number 34. This was absolutely hilarious. Whoever put this together was a genius. From the cover, you've got Ant-Man trying to give a hot foot to the Watcher, to all the things on the cover, but the stories, with the exception of maybe one, were all hilarious, and they're funny as anything. Now, there was a second series of this, What If 34. Don't bother with that one. Whoever did that one, that fell flat. But this one was hilarious, not terribly expensive, just a fun read. And I've got, I have 8.5 white pages of this. Whenever I grab a slab, it's because I care about the book and I want it preserved. In addition to I've got like 3 or 4 copies of this, but my recommendation is you get this and you'll be pleasantly surprised. A few more here. All right, back to the Silver Age. Again, Stan Lee stories. And this one was drawn by John Buscema, Sal Buscema's older brother. And I read stories 183 through 191 or 192. Again, Stan Lee wrote this, and it was Thor 187 is the one I'm profiling today. Look how beautiful this cover is. Very colorful, very, just a fun cover. Thor and Odin have gone against each other a number of times over the years. This was different. And again, going back to that particular run from 183 to 191 or 182, I forget where it ended. Stan Lee reveals, and I was very surprised by this, how powerful Odin actually is. He was scary powerful in this one. And I dare say this might have been the inspiration for Jim Shooter for his Secret Wars, because the Beyonder was just as powerful. And there are some similarities here. I'm not accusing Jim Shooter of plagiarism or anything, but we all get inspired from this and that and all that. But there's a similarity here. But this was an incredible read. So get those stories here. You can't go wrong with the Thor and Journey into Mystery books anyway. They're just beautifully written and beautifully drawn. And one of these days, and I haven't figured out how to do this yet, the artwork inside these comics needs to be revealed. All of us are guilty of cover buys. This was a cover buy. But when I read this particular one, and you see John Buscema's beautiful artwork, that needs to be profiled. It shouldn't be kept forever hidden away inside these comics. Everyone needs to appreciate them. I haven't figured out how to do this because I'm not, as you can probably figure out, I'm not that technically savvy. I work off my iPad. It's a jury-rigged system here, but it still works for the channel. But I highly recommend, if you want a good read, this is a good place to start. These are 25, 30 bucks each. You could try to maybe get a lot. You know, they sell them in lots, so you make 10 or 15 at a time, and you save money. The grade is a little lower, mid-grade or lower, but they're good readers' copies, worth keeping. And you might get lucky with some of the ones in that lot if you go down that route. Some are higher grade. They just throw them all together just to get rid of them. But highly recommend that you look through this series here. Next, we have here a fun story. We're all X-Men fans, and one of the more comedic characters is, and it's not a funny book or anything. I know it's comics. I see the irony. Nightcrawler #1. His own little miniseries. Get all 4 of them. It's a fun story. Extremely inexpensive. This is the beginning of the Copper Age, and they had some fun with this one here. Again, if you want to just sort of add to it, you add to your X-Men run, and have a. I believe this is the first time he ever had his own series. So there's a first appearance of sorts here, but a fun read for an inexpensive price. 2 more. This is a fun one, and I haven't read this in a while. I need to read this again. As I profiled, the Marvel 2-in-1 series is underrated, but so is the Marvel Team Up series. And obviously, because Spider-Man, that's his series. They're a little more. They're a few bucks more because Spider-Man's in it. This is a good one, a fun one, and it's Marvel Team Up number 22, Spider-Man versus Hawkeye. Now, the fun thing about it, and again, I'm going on my limited memory. The story goes with these two, not hotheads, but sort of. They can get on each other's nerves very easily. Certainly, Hawkeye's that way. He's always got that persona. We talked about Hawkeye in the last episode. He's an underrated character. And when he goes against certain people, like he did in the Defenders, he went against the Hulk, and he's just being himself. But he's a fun story. I love this character, and I think this is a fun read. Again, colorful cover, not expensive. These are, again, affordable books you want to get your hands on if you want to consider for your consideration, maybe $10 or so. And I don't know if I mentioned this. If you're on a budget and you want to start your collection again, Copper Age is, again, probably the best place to start because the Silver, Bronze, and Copper Age all interweave with each other. And you can have some stories that go back to the Silver Age because they follow up on them and that sort of thing. And it won't hurt the budget. It won't hurt the budget at all. A few of you have reached out to me that are much younger than I am. And this is one thing to consider. If you're getting started with this, and modern comics don't do anything for you, the Copper Age does. I love the Copper Age, and I was collecting loyally, faithfully, all the way to the mid-90s. And then everything stopped. All the stories changed, all the artwork changed, and they were way more expensive. They were $3 or something, and I'm thinking, no. When I started, it was 25 cents an issue. And I'm like, this is a labor. And I'm not having any fun with this, and I'm not enjoying the storyline. And I had to stop cold turkey. And that was tough because I was so used to buying. But Copper Age was the last era that I really like. So if you want to start your collection from scratch, that's a good place to start. Networking, well, let's end on this here. I buy from a lot of sources here. Mickey Swaglehoss, who I just showed, he had that claim sale. He's on a platform called Cuckoo, and then Comic Ozzy, another friend of mine, he's on every Tuesday on Whatnot. He's on Tuesday at 4 o'clock Pacific, 4 or 4:30. It's usually 4 o'clock when he starts here, and he has some good deals here. And eBay is another one. Obviously, you go to your LCS, go hunting, whatever. But these are the ones I go to because they're reliable. And the more you get to know people in this community, the more you develop a rapport with them. You buy from your LCS. Hopefully they give you some deals along the way. And the same with these people, especially Kamikaze, because he does this, and he's very fair. He comes up with some great deals. Not everything he has I buy, but sometimes if you look and you're patient, you find something. Well, I found something here, and this is the second time in a row in the last video I said you will rarely hear me say affordable grail. I got an affordable grail from him a little while ago. Again, when you're selling and things are going well, he had a good night that night. He was selling a bunch of comics, and he had two of the same book here. He had the first one was a higher grade, 5 or 6 at least, and sold it for about $500. And then I said, hey, Oz, what about the lower grade one here? And he said, well, about 125. And then he paused for a second. He said, well, Dan, because he knows me, he said, I'll tell you what, for $100 you can have it. So again, when things are going well, you feel kind of magnanimous. And I couldn't say no. I just couldn't say no. I've never owned this book before, and I finally do, and something I can't afford, and here it is. Conan #1. This, I've never owned this book before, and yes, to those in the chat, a few of you, or one of you asked me, where was Conan's first appearance? This is his first appearance in comics. He appeared in a magazine, and I can't remember what the name of the magazine was, but this is technically his second appearance, but first appearance in comics, but a grail. And I got a huge deal on this. So again, deals are out there. You have to be patient, save your money and all the rest, but also network. That's one of the things for today, one of the lessons of today. Get to know people, talk to people, and the more you get to know them, the more they get to know you. And before you know it, if you follow all those rules here, an opportunity presents itself. It presented itself here. I never thought I'd own this book. And this is a Roy Thomas creation, and I love Roy Thomas, and for whatever reason, I never got into this character, and now I'm going to, well, I don't have to, but I'm going to see what Roy was trying to say. So obviously, he put a lot of effort into this one, but regardless, here it is here. I'm just delighted to have it, and for a price that I could afford. So, guys, that's the whole point of me doing this show, to profile comics for your consideration, to inspire thought. If you like them, great. I try to give some background on them. The cost, who wrote them, who drew them, a little synopsis about what they are without spoiling too much here. And I've got, like I said, thousands to go through. So this is a labor of love. And for those of you who've been sending great comments, I try to respond to each and every one of them. And I think I have. That's an effort. But again, it's a labor of love, because I like what you guys are saying. You're very interesting. You're very smart. I'm learning from you. The lesson I learned this past week was that Herb Trimpe, one of my favorite artists, that's not how his last name is pronounced. Herb Trimpe. That's how his name is pronounced. Thank you to a few of you who corrected me on that one. I didn't know. Like Sal Buscema. Some call him Sal Buscema. No, I've heard him interviewed. He pronounces his last name Buscema. Sal and John Buscema, two damn talented people who we lost. We lost Sal Buscema, I think, last year. But again, there's such a world of comics and such a world of information. And we have a gentleman who is in our chat who's more knowledgeable than I am. The gentleman who's 81 years old, who I referred to at the beginning of this video. So it's all heartwarming. I can't thank all of you enough. Anyway, that's it for today. For the SBC Network, I'm Dan De La Torre, and this is Comic Book Corner.